Hi, Liz. Welcome to our Next podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So happy to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, I'm Liz Lawson. I am the author of four young adult novels, which have come out over the past 6 years.
Mm.
And my adult debut just released. It's called It Happened One Murder. And it is a mystery rom-com set on the Jersey Shore about it's like enemies to lovers, like two people who knew each other briefly in high school and had a very passionate 2-week affair. And they come back together 8 years later to solve a murder. Oh, and
Yeah.
here is my cat.
And there's your dad. You know what? We're paying the cat tax, so it's okay.
Gosh, he always has to be on camera. He loves it so
Yes.
much.
It's all good. Talk to us about your journey as an author, writing YA and then moving into adult and really filling this mashup market. As we were talking before we got on, there's this market of rom-coms, but coming with different tones, like dark rom-coms or paranormal rom-com. And I love this mashup. This is my kryptonite. It's the mystery mashup where there's a little bit of murder. It's a little bit cozy, but not too cozy. It can be set in a bigger city, and there's a romance, and it's just they both coexist in that space.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Okay. So, I sold my first book back in 2018, and it came out in 2020. It came out in April of 2020, which is
Oh my
not a
god!
great
Oh
time
no! Yes.
to have a book come out. But that was a sad contemporary YA novel about
Yeah.
a girl who lost her brother in a school shooting and sort of like how she heals from it. And it is very different actually from the rest of the books I've ever written. And then COVID hit, and I was like, I don't want to write another sad thing. So I pivoted. Another author and I started talking about co-writing a book together, and that book became The Agathas, which was such a joy to write. I co-wrote it
Yeah.
with Kathleen Glasgow, and it is like a fun high school mystery about two girls who are solving the murder of the most popular girl in their high school on the California coast. We got to write a sequel, which was really fun. And then I wrote another mystery that was just me called Murder Between Friends that came out last year. It's about three
Yeah.
friends in Virginia who one of their brothers was accused of murdering their high school English teacher 2 years prior to the book opening. He gets out of prison on a technicality, and the three friends set out to figure out who really killed the teacher. And then I decided to pivot into adult. I had thought about it for a while. Like it had always been, not always been something I had planned to do, but like definitely in the past few years was something I started thinking about more and more. I think I have a kid. He's 9 now. And as he started getting a little bit older, I have started feeling more, this sounds so weird, more like a grown up, I guess. I started becoming more and more interested in writing like something for grown-ups. And like I had been reading YA for a long time, and I had started reading more and more adult. And yeah, so it just came sort of naturally, like the next step. And in It Happened One Murder, they're not like, I mean, they're like 25, 26. So they're
Yeah.
not like well into adulthood, and they still have like some immaturity to them,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like that next stage of life. So it felt like a natural next move.
I've talked to a lot of YA authors who pivoted, who are moving into the adult market. I think the market is an interesting, it's at a crossroads in some ways.
Yes.
Certain things are selling, certain things that were selling in the 2010s is no longer selling, and how to drive. And then the younger readers are reading adult books
Mhm.
too, which is that's the other
Absolutely.
part. Is like they're reading the adult books because they're like they have cartoon covers, they all look
Mhm.
pretty and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I do think YA is going through a crisis of maybe like an identity crisis right now. I think for a while, and this is my own personal theory, I think for a while YA was sort of filling a gap in the market. Like there was like literary fiction for grown-ups. There was like straight up like romance books that
Yeah.
like Danielle Steele and things like that. And then there were like hard-boiled thrillers, but there weren't a ton of like lighter, I don't know, like these cross genre things have a different feel to them.
Yeah.
Like I grew up reading cozy mysteries, and like most of those are a little bit more like formulaic, I guess is the
Yeah.
right way to say it, about like people who are like bakers. It's like that very stereotypical
Yeah.
cozy mystery thing. And now you have a whole different vibe to cozy mysteries where they're
Yeah.
like mixed with rom-coms or mixed with like supernatural or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And those books have started pulling the readers that maybe would have read YA because they have
Yeah.
a similar commercial feel to them. They have a similar fun voice. And so that's my theory is like that plus COVID. Unfortunately, like lots of people have become non-readers for whatever reason. And then like with book bans, that has not helped at all. That has made it very difficult to, I think, like for both editors and authors to think about what should be in YA novels and like what's gonna, it's just like a very difficult time in that market right now.
Yeah, it is an interesting time in the market. But I also like that even with cozy mysteries is going at a crossroads too, because mass market paperbacks are no longer in print. And so most of these cozies that we have seen, these long running series, have been like the tiny books that you get in the grocery store and you do this. And it's also the market is like, yeah, I want to do the small town cozy, but I really would like to. I live in a big city and there's still murder and you can
Of
still have
course.
the small town vibe of it. And so having these mashup what we consider what they their term is millennial mysteries, like the more of that sensitivities, more of the
Yes, yes.
millennial part of it where we're like, we're adults, we're not probably fully adult. We don't feel like adults.
Exactly. Like that whole idea of that's sort of what I wanted to like, I always wanted to explore it in a book because like in my 20s, it was like a hard time for me.
Yeah.
But and I see all these videos on like reels and TikToks about people in their 20s who are like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's a rough time because you like get out of college and all that stability goes away of knowing what comes next. And you're thrown into the giant ocean of life, I guess.
Yeah.
And you're like, it can very much feel like you're drowning and you're not like a full, I don't know. I guess you're like back in the day you were a full grown adult, right? And you're when you were 25, you probably had the 4 kids. But nowadays it's like you're living in a studio apartment in New York City and like you still feel sort of like you're in the like college, like the next step of college or like college, but not quite college.
Yeah. And you're trying to figure out your sense of the world. You're in a job that you're starting to start out and you have no idea what it looks like. And you can't afford to live this life, which is the
Exactly. I mean, that's so true. And that's kind of what I wanted to think about with Harriet is there are a ton of people in their 20s. I lived with my parents briefly in my 20s
yeah.
where you like you either can't find a job or you lose your job or whatever. And so you're like forced to move back home and
Yeah.
like how that feels like you almost like a loss of freedom and you sort of do revert back to how you act with your parents when you were a teenager a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like that weird feeling of being a grown up, but also like being under the roof of these people that raised you.
Yeah, I think I like it happened one murder because it brings up the conversation about careers and in your 20s and connected with your family relationship. Carrie is a journalist, which is a dying profession. We grew up watching the rom-coms telling us magazine editors are happening, and then we
Right?
watch them over Sprott and we say they don't have money anymore and they're
Yeah.
struggling.
Yeah.
The dream was to make it big in New York City and have this fancy job, but then you realize it's not a fancy job. You're just pumping out content that's not thinking about it, and then realizing, oh my gosh, I so political. I have to go back home, and it's still like the situation at home is not. It's not what it all seems. And her mother has been married to this random guy, and she's not even happy about it. But we gotta pretend we're all happy about it. It creates more of a discontent. And then we have our main character, our male main character, who has been helping in the family catering business. And his sister got fired from a job that she was really good at
Yeah.
and has to come back and from a sous chef again another really hard career to have
Hmm.
to be like actually doing catering. And
Yeah.
those are thankless jobs because people have a lot of opinions and
Yeah.
it's a very fleeting thing. How is we feel safe?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So Sarah, Nick's sister in the book, She is fired. She's working at this high-end restaurant in New York, and then the restaurant closes. She can't find a new job because she has a bit of a temper and is forced to move back home too. And she ends up working for the family catering business where Nick has been working for the past 8 years because he never got to go away. He's this loyal guy who, when his mom first started the company, he decided to stick around and help her build it. And so he never really got to follow his dreams. Like he wanted to go to culinary school too. And yeah, so he's like the only one who's been there. And like it wasn't even by choice on his part either.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have a murder and we have to uncover it. We got to use Harriet's investigative journalism.
Yes.
Like trying to uncover the murder, connect the dots, have a murder wall, and all these different things. By the way, I just have to say this. I say this to especially cozy mysterious authors. I'm actually an investigator in real life. I investigate white collar crime.
It's so cool.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I just got promoted, so I now have the title of investigator.
That's
Yes, and so I appreciate like the day job, like the murder one specifically. Like, how do you connect the dots? Because a lot of it, as an investigator, is like you get clues, you get breadcrumbs, and you have to find evidence.
Right.
And circumstantial may not cut it. You need the actual smoking gun.
Have you ever built a murder wall?
I actually, this week we were working on that. Our lawyers are asking us for specific information, and essentially we're like, we need to get the post-its, we need to get the strings, we need to connect like the specific things and everything.
Wow, that's so interesting because I feel like that what you do is like basically it's like the same thing a mystery writer does in a way, right? It's like you have to figure out how the breadcrumbs might lead somewhere and what clues you have to look for and like then where they point you and like you have all your suspects. That's very cool.
Yeah. I love it. I love when a character is building the murder wall and trying to figure out. A lot of times people think it's sleuthing. It takes place and you just talk to people. You got to look into information. You got to Google. You got to also follow your intuition. So much of it sleuthing is following your intuition and be like, oh, this makes sense. It doesn't make sense. This is a connecting. And the red herrings that you may find that you're like, what am I finding?
Right. Yeah. That's very cool. Do you ever read mysteries and think, I mean, is it like being a doctor and watching a doctor show where you're like, oh my God, they're doing everything wrong?
I think I had someone, because I do healthcare. So it was an author who said, it was like a book. It was, the doctor was selling opioids and she did it for love. And she was like, their motivations were for love. And I was like, I don't know, man. Because most of the time it's money.
Interesting. Yes, I mean,
why you're prescribing opioids is the money, maybe the motivation for the money to pay for someone you love treatment or something like that. But it really comes down to money or like, but for the most part, I enjoy them. I actually love reading them now to get a sense of it because they're like entertaining. I also consume a lot of scamming content. I really enjoy finding a good white collar crime. I like mysteries because the murder is there, but it's not the whole focus of it. We don't see the story, we don't see the crime scene investigation. So I like the procedural aspect of my favorite things is white collar. And I'm training for that. I'm getting certified. So I'm like, I love a good corporate scam where they're like the pipeline of the forced 30 under 30 that they end up in jail for fraud. Yeah, those are like, oh, they're so juicy. Because there's amazing. It's not like someone's dying, but people are afflicted by it.
Oh, yeah. Bernie Madoff, like that was a lot of people were affected by things like that.
It's so much more juicier. You don't need to have a body to actually have a good crime.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. Although on the page, like sometimes I think white collar crime can be like less exciting when you're reading about it. But when you're watching it, I mean, look at Succession or something like that's like tons of white collar crime and it's very entertaining.
We have it badly. Like we're
exactly.
So yes, that's a shop talk, but I love books like yours because it gets me in the romance phase with the mystery aspect of it. I think this is a good matchup. This is a good balance for both characters because we do have the romance arc growing and building, and it's a second chance. They work together at one point, they come back, and then they have an interesting meet cute, which I love. She doesn't remember him.
Yes.
And they met before,
Oh, yes,
carnally.
exactly. They have very much met before. They had a real serious fling for a few weeks. He had a crush on her all through high school. And yeah, but Harriet back in the day, she had this serious boyfriend in high school. She had
Yeah.
dated this guy, Adam Kozel, for 3 years of high school. They had plans to go to college together. And then a few days after high school graduation, she calls his house and his mom's he's left town. And she has no idea where he went. No one will
Yeah.
tell her. It's like this big mystery. And then 8 years later, he knocks on her door. So when she and Nick have this fling back in the day, she is sort of like a broken person.
Yeah.
And so she ends up doing to Nick what her boyfriend in high school, Adam, did to her, which is like completely just ghost him. And so
Yeah.
Nick has never forgiven her for good reason. I mean, I think it was like pretty brutal what she did to him. And it's her 26th birthday party, and her mom's fourth husband are throwing her this ridiculous party that she didn't even want at their shore house. And she walks outside to find her two friends and runs right into Nick, like literally right into him, and doesn't recognize him at all because he's had this major glow up since high school. He's gotten grown 6 inches and gotten like all buff, and she's, ooh, he's hot. And then he's, hey, Harriet. And she's, what?
How do you know my name?
Yeah. And he is, well, because you took my virginity.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. So let's talk some book. The book is It Happened One Murder. It's available on ebook, print, and audiobook. I listened to audiobook, loved it. So they did a great job. So either format is great. So if you're looking
Yeah.
for it. Let's talk some book recommendations. Do you have any books to recommend our listeners to pick up?
Yes. So recently, I just finished Lena Dunham's memoir, which
Yeah,
I really enjoyed. Have you read it?
I did. I
Yeah.
did. It was tough. It was tough.
I mean, some of the stuff, I was like, oh my God, I love, huge fan of Girls. I've rewatched, love it. And yeah, some of it is really hard to read because it's a lot about her health stuff. And all I could think when I was reading it was like, oh my God, you were shooting a very popular television show when you were going through all this health stuff. And now rewatching the show is a completely different experience because all I can think is in real life, you were in major pain. It's just, and it was like very eye opening. So I read that and I really enjoyed it. I know she is a controversial figure, but
Yeah.
I liked it. I also read Lost Lambs recently by Madeline
Love
Cash.
it.
So my three things I read a lot are like mysteries and thrillers, like the mashups between genres. I love a rom-com. And then I also love the weird girl lit that has
Yes.
really become a big thing, like Big Swiss and like All Fours and all of that stuff. So this kind of falls into that. It's kind of absurdist and it's like literary fiction, but not like literary fiction in the old white man sort of way. It's like just it's like a very quirky book, and I really enjoyed it. It's not for everyone, but I loved it. I read some books that I'm blurb. I'm reading one that's coming out, I think in the fall, called A Killer Christmas, which is great, by Harrington. And it's this really cute, like romance mystery mashup. So I love that genre too, like reading those. Gosh, what Ali Carter's book?
Oh, yes.
The Most Wonderful Crime.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that one too. And she just announced a new one coming out in the fall, which I'm very excited about.
It's another Christmas one. I don't know
Yeah.
the name on the show notes, but I got access to the copy of it. I really
Ooh,
like Carter
lucky.
Rogan's book. Their spy books are great too. Like they're great.
Yeah.
It's another YA. That's actually like old school YA author.
Yeah.
You know?
She was like, when she write Matched, which I
Yeah.
read so long ago, and they were great. And yeah, her like transition into adult has been really fun. She's
Yeah.
been doing some like really cool genre mashups. Like I
Yes.
haven't read the spy ones, but my agent told me I would really like them. So I need
I
to.
feel like them. They're
Yeah.
fun. They're like, I think it's like a mix of Elias and just kind of like these kind of like running around Europe
Oh, that's cool.
on rock, and they're trying to figure out things around it, and then the romance is happening. You're like, how is the romance gonna happen in this
Yeah.
phase? And it's just kind of like fun. They're just
That's
like
cool.
a fun little like romp around it with
Yeah.
spy and guns.
I love that.
And white
Yeah.
collar crime. There's a lot of white collar crime here.
Also, yes, which you love.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, those are what I've read really recently. And then what else have I read? Oh, I started reading Strangers, but I have not finished it yet. That memoir.
Rich
I
people
think,
behaving badly.
yes, exactly. Literally, yes, exactly. So I'm only like halfway through that. I started reading it right after the Lena Dunham book, and I'm not a big memoir reader. So I think it was just like too many memoirs in a row. And I was like, okay, I need a break, read some fiction for a while.
Yeah. I ended up starting it in March around the same time around started listening to it. And then we got to the prenup and I was like, I just saw it, the writing on the wall when we get to, because the whole premise is that she's been asked to, her husband leaves her in the middle of COVID and abandons
Yeah.
her. And then it's like searching for the prenup. And is she going to be financially destitute even though she has a trust fund? And
Yeah. No, it's
well,
like,
so once I reached the prenup, I was like, oh, this doesn't sound good. This is just gonna piss me off because it reminded me of my parents' divorce. We had a
oh,
similar situation and stuff because it was like my mom was saying, "Oh, mom," and well, the settlement and all these different things. And
yeah.
but then I finished and it was good. I would like to take her writing class. She took a writing class. She talks about writing her
Oh,
memoir and stuff. And I think I'm like, oh, I would like to take that writing class to
yeah.
uncover this story and stuff. And I think for memoir is solid. Yes, we find out that the stakes were not as high as we think they are.
Right. Yeah.
But
Off the
I
stuff
think
that's
that's the
come
whole
out.
point of writing a book. You need to have the
Yeah.
stake to be so high that you're like, you can have a reader say, it's like, I see the writing on the wall of the prenup. I'm going to stop reading right now because it's too
Right.
stressful. But it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
quick. Audio is great. She narrates it and she does a really good job
Oh,
narrating.
that's nice. Okay. That's Lena Dunham's too. She narrates it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
that's cool. Very nice.
um, Liz, tell us where we can find you online.
I am on Instagram and TikTok at LZLWSN, which is my name with no vowels. Not the most easy to say out loud, but just my name with no vowels. And I have a website, Liz Lawson Wright.
Awesome.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm not on Twitter anymore because
That's
I refuse
that's
to call it
okay.
anything but Twitter. So that's why.
Yes, it's the only appropriate thing that we can detonate.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, Liz, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the What to Read Next. For more book lists, cozy reads, and library tips, visit the whattoreadnextblog.com. Your next great read might be waiting there.